90% of night shift workers experience paranormal activity. That's a staggering number. It's more than just being tired. It's about what happens when the world sleeps. Imagine the quiet hum of machinery, empty hallways stretching into darkness. That's the night shift. For many, it's just a job. For others, it's a gateway to things unseen. Things that stir when the lights are low. Sleep deprivation is real, of course. Hallucinations can occur, your mind plays tricks. But is that the whole story? Are these just tired eyes seeing things? Or is something else at play? Sarah worked the graveyard shift at a hospital. For years, it was routine. Clock in, check vitals, clock out. The quiet hours were almost peaceful. Then things started changing. Subtle at first, a whisper on the intercom, a shadow darting in her peripheral vision. She blamed the fatigue, she blamed the long hours, but the experiences grew. Objects moved on their own. Doors creaked open without a breeze. She'd hear footsteps behind her. When she turned, no one was there. The hospital was old, full of stories. But this felt different. It felt personal. What's more terrifying, the entities they encounter or their own transformation? Sarah started noticing changes within herself. Her temper grew short. She became withdrawn. Friends noticed. Her family worried. She felt a growing unease, a sense of being watched, constantly. Even when she was home, she began researching. She found forums, online communities of night shift workers. They shared similar stories, tales of disembodied voices, unexplained cold spots, apparitions in the break room. The pattern was undeniable. The longer they worked these shifts, the more they experienced. It was like a slow burn, a gradual immersion into something otherworldly, something that fed on the silence and the solitude. One night, Sarah was alone in the radiology department. The lights flickered violently. A chilling cold swept through the room. She heard a voice, clear as day, right beside her ear. It wasn't a whisper. It was a guttural growl. It said her name, Sarah. She froze. Her heart hammered against her ribs. She couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Then silence. The lights steadied. Cold receded, but the feeling remained, a profound sense of dread. She knew then this wasn't just fatigue. This was something else. She decided to quit. The hospital offered her a day shift. She took it immediately. She thought she was escaping. She thought she was safe. But the experiences didn't stop. They followed her, like a persistent shadow. She started seeing things even in daylight. Flashes of movement, faces in the crowd that weren't there. Her sleep became restless, filled with nightmares. The entities she encountered at work seemed to have latched on, or perhaps she had invited them in. Could working in the dark, when the veil between worlds is thin, change you permanently? Sarah's story is not unique. Many night shift workers report similar phenomena. They describe a feeling of being drained, not just physically, but spiritually. As if something is siphoning their energy, their very essence. Some believe the lack of sunlight disrupts our natural rhythms, our connection to the earth. It leaves us vulnerable, susceptible to influences we can't understand. Others talk about the residual energy in places, hospitals, factories, call centers. These places have seen countless hours, countless lives, and perhaps countless deaths. This energy lingers. It becomes agitated by the quiet and the isolation of the night. What if the darkness itself holds a consciousness? A collective awareness that awakens with the moon. One former security guard, Mark, worked for a decade in a deserted office building. He was the only one there from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. He saw figures in the windows. He heard doors slamming on empty floors. He even reported seeing a full apparition, a woman in old-fashioned clothing. She'd appear in the stairwell, then vanish. Mark started drinking heavily. He became paranoid. He claimed the building was alive, that it was watching him. He quit abruptly. He said he could feel the building breathing. He said it wanted him to stay, forever. His family found him weeks later. He was living in his car. He spoke of being followed. He said the woman from the stairwell was in his dreams. He couldn't escape the night shift's grip. Is it possible that prolonged exposure to the night shift alters our perception? Does it rewire our brains, making us susceptible to the paranormal? Or is it a more direct interaction? Are these entities drawn to the shift workers, seeking something from them, Perhaps comfort, perhaps sustenance, or perhaps they are simply trying to communicate. But their methods are terrifying. The isolation is key. When you're alone in the dark, your senses heighten. Every creak, every rustle becomes amplified. Your mind scrambles for an explanation. And sometimes the explanation isn't rational. Think about the places night shift workers inhabit, hospitals with their constant cycle of life and death, factories with their industrial hum and shadows, call centers where lonely voices echo into the void. These environments are fertile ground. They are spaces where the mundane meets the extraordinary, where the veil between worlds feels thin. Especially between midnight and dawn, Sarah eventually sought help, professional help. She spoke to therapists. She tried medication. Slowly, she began to heal, but she never forgot. The feeling of being watched, the chilling voice in the dark, she learned to live with it. But she never worked nights again. She understood now. It wasn't just about staying awake. It was about what stayed awake with her. The things that thrived in the absence of light. The things that waited for the dark shift. Her experience left a permanent mark, a scar on her psyche, a reminder of the unseen forces that lurk just beyond our perception, especially during the darkest hours. So the next time you see someone heading to work as the sun sets, remember them. Remember the potential encounters, the unseen companions, the transformation that might be taking place. In the deep, quiet dark, what happens when your normal becomes the night? When the familiar becomes alien? When the silence screams? These are the stories that linger. The whispers in the empty office, the cold touch in the deserted ward, the feeling of eyes on you in the dead of night. Are you brave enough to acknowledge them? Share your own night shift horror story in the comments below if you dare.